The year is 1977. The air in Las Vegas crackles not with the usual electric excitement of a Bing Crosby performance, but with a palpable tension, a quiet dread. On stage, under the unforgiving glare of the spotlights, stands a man familiar to millions, yet utterly unrecognizable. This isn't the jaunty, effortlessly charming crooner whose voice defined generations, whose smile could melt glaciers. This is a silhouette shattered, a figure burdened by an unseen weight, his movements hesitant, his once vibrant eyes now haunted. Something has fundamentally broken the legend, and cracks are beginning to show, a stark contrast to the polished icon they knew. How does a man who seemingly had it all, global fame, immense wealth, a voice that captivated the planet, arrive at such a desolate precipice? What force, invisible yet potent, could dismantle the very essence of a man so celebrated, so adored? The Bing Crosby of the silver screen, the radio waves, the festive holiday specials was a symbol of American optimism, a soothing presence in turbulent times. Yet beneath that impeccably tailored facade, a storm brewed, threatening to capsize the vessel. His public persona, meticulously crafted, was a masterpiece of geniality, but even the most robust masks eventually crack. To understand the unraveling, we must rewind, far from the dazzling lights of Vegas back to the dusty streets of Spokane, Washington. Harry Lillis Crosby Jr., born in 1903, was not destined for immediate greatness. He was one of 7 children, a choir boy with a burgeoning fascination for rhythm and blues, a young man with an innate, if unrefined, musicality. His childhood was marked by modest means, a strong Catholic upbringing, and the kind of quiet ambition that often simmers beneath the surface of small-town life. Spokane was a crucible, shaping not just his voice, but the very fabric of his resilient, complex character. His journey from Spokane to global superstardom was nothing short of meteoric. From singing in local bands, honing his craft in jazz clubs, to breaking into radio with Paul Whiteman's orchestra, Bing Crosby's rise was a masterclass in talent meeting opportunity. His distinctive baritone, a warm, inviting instrument that seemed to effortlessly convey emotion, quickly found its way into the hearts of millions. He transitioned seamlessly to film, becoming one of Hollywood's biggest box office draws, starring in classics that defined an era. He was the epitome of the American dream, a self-made man who ascended to the pinnacle of entertainment. By the mid-20th century, Bing Crosby was more than just an entertainer. He was an institution. His voice was the soundtrack to countless lives, his films a comforting escape, his presence a reassuring constant. He was the first multimedia superstar, conquering radio, film, and records with unparalleled ease. Yet even as accolades piled up and his legend solidified, whispers began to circulate, faint at first, then growing in intensity. Whispers of a different man behind the public face, of struggles and shadows that threatened to eclipse the sunshine he projected. How could such an empire conceal profound personal turmoil, leading to the broken silhouette we witnessed? Bing's smooth, effortless baritone was his golden ticket. Yet the journey from Spokane to entertainment's pinnacle was far from effortless. It was a relentless, grinding ascent, fueled by ambition burning brighter than any stage light. He wasn't merely a singer, he was a shrewd businessman, intuitively grasping the evolving landscape of radio, film, and records. Early days blurred into auditions, late-night gigs, constant travel, each step a calculated move towards the spotlight he craved. This wasn't solely about talent. It was an unyielding will to conquer, to be heard, adored by millions. Sacrifices began subtly, then grew, demanding more from the man behind the microphone. Fame, however, often proves a Faustian bargain, and Bing Crosby was about to learn its true cost. As his popularity soared, so did the demands on his time, energy, and soul. The constant pressure to perform, innovate, and remain relevant in a brutally competitive industry was immense. Every song, film, and radio appearance was scrutinized, expected to surpass the last. The public image of Der Bingle, the laid-back, charming crooner, was carefully curated to appeal to the masses. Beneath that veneer, a vast entertainment machine relentlessly turned, threatening to grind down anyone unable to keep pace. He was no longer just Harry Lillis Crosby. He was a brand, an institution, its weight already pressing down. This dichotomy between the public Bing and the private Harry widened yearly. On screen and over the airwaves, he exuded easygoing charisma, a man at peace, a symbol of American optimism. Yet, the reality behind the scenes was far more complex, shadowed by his career's relentless demands. Success brought adoration, but also isolation. Constant travel, endless schedules, and a lack of genuine privacy were unseen burdens of his golden cage of stardom. He was always on, performing even off-camera, maintaining the illusion of effortlessness. The lines between man and myth blurred, making it difficult, perhaps even for Bing, to discern where one ended and the other began. Amidst this whirlwind of fame, Bing married Dixie Lee, a vibrant actress and dancer, in 1930. Their union was, on the surface, a glamorous Hollywood romance. But Dixie also navigated show business. Her career pressures, combined with Bing's escalating demands, created a unique dynamic. Their family grew quickly, with 4 sons born in rapid succession: Gary, Dennis, Philip, and Lindsay. This expansion, while publicly cementing his image as a wholesome, family-oriented star, added profound responsibility and stress. He was now not just a husband, but a father, with a household depending on his success. The stakes had never been higher, for his career and his young family's well-being. The image of Bing Crosby, the doting husband and father, epitome of American success, was meticulously crafted and embraced. Yet beneath this shimmering facade of fame and family, invisible cracks were undeniably forming. The relentless pursuit of fortune, suffocating demands of public life, and inherent conflicts between personal desires and professional obligations were taking their toll. What sacrifices were truly made to maintain this golden illusion? How did Harry Lillis Crosby reconcile his boundless love for his children with the often absent reality of his demanding career? The idyllic picture painted for the world was beautiful, but its immense weight hinted at a private struggle, far removed from the joyful melodies that captivated a nation. The stage was set for a deeper, imperceptible fracturing of the man America thought it knew. The gilded cage of stardom extended its bars beyond the stage, encasing Bing's private life in a veneer of domestic bliss that, upon closer inspection, shimmered with a dangerous fragility. His sprawling estate, a sanctuary from the relentless glare of Hollywood, was meant to be a haven for his growing family. Dixie Lee, his vivacious wife, and their 4 boisterous sons, Gary, twins Dennis and Philip, and Lindsay. From afar, it was the picture of American aspiration, a testament to the crooner's success, yet within its walls, a different melody played, one of discord, unspoken resentments, and the quiet erosion of intimacy under the weight of an impossible public image. The demands of being Bing Crosby, the icon, left precious little room for Harry Lillis Crosby, the husband and father. Dixie, once a promising starlet herself, found her light gradually dimmed by the supernova that was her husband's career. Her own ambitions, once vibrant, were slowly subsumed by the role of Mrs. Bing Crosby, hostess and mother, to a quartet of energetic boys. The transition from independent performer to domestic anchor was not without its profound challenges, and the isolation that often accompanies immense fame began to take its toll. While Bing traversed the globe, charming millions with his effortless baritone, Dixie grappled with her own silent battles at home, a growing chasm forming between the man she married and the legend he had become. The pressures of maintaining this perfect facade were immense, and beneath the surface a quiet desperation began to take root. For the boys, life with Bing Crosby was a dichotomy of privilege and paradox. They had everything money could buy, yet arguably lacked the consistent, emotionally present father their hearts yearned for. Bing, a product of a strict, disciplined upbringing, often replicated that same demanding environment within his own home, believing it was the path to raising strong, successful men. His expectations were high, his presence often imposing, and the warmth he exuded on screen rarely translated into the intimate, playful moments children crave. This created a complex dynamic, a blend of admiration and fear, shaping young minds in ways that would reverberate throughout their lives. It's a stark reminder that even the most successful lives can hide profound emotional vacuums. It's fascinating to consider how these deeply personal struggles unfold behind the scenes of public adoration. If you're finding this unraveling of Bing Crosby's life as compelling as we are, please take a moment to hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your engagement helps us bring more stories like this to light. The growing chasm between Bing and Dixie, fueled by his relentless pursuit of perfection and her increasing dependence on alcohol as an escape, became an undeniable force. Dixie's struggles, Initially, a private pain began to cast a long shadow over the entire household, a desperate cry for help disguised as self-medication. Bing, ever the man of control and order, found himself increasingly frustrated, unable to fix a problem that defied his logical, disciplined approach. The alcohol wasn't just a symptom, it was becoming a catalyst, eroding the very foundation of their strained marriage and amplifying the existing tensions within the family. This escalating crisis within their marriage, exacerbated by Dixie's deteriorating health and Bing's inability to reconcile his public image with his private turmoil, became the true heart of the impending disaster. The seemingly perfect Hollywood family was fracturing, not from external scandal but from an insidious internal decay. The catalyst wasn't a single explosive event, but the slow, agonizing burn of unaddressed pain, unmet needs, and the crushing weight of expectations, both self-imposed and societal. This was the true cost of the golden cage, a price paid not just by Bing, but by every soul trapped within its beautiful yet suffocating confines. The phone rang late, an insistent jarring sound cutting through the quiet hum of the Beverly Hills night. Bing, usually a man of unflappable calm, felt an icy tendril of dread coil in his gut. It wasn't the usual call from a studio executive or an agent. This tone was different, urgent, almost frantic. He picked up, his voice a low rumble, but the words on the other end were a torrent, a cascade of fragmented phrases that made no immediate sense. Accident, hospital, urgent. The world, which moments before had been a predictable stage, now lurched violently, tilting him into an abyss of uncertainty. The polished mahogany of his study, the framed photographs of his smiling family, all seemed to blur, losing their solid reality as the receiver pressed cold against his ear. He remembered the drive as a blur of streetlights and desperate speed, the familiar route to Cedars-Sinai, a tunnel of mounting terror. The sterile scent of antiseptic hit him first upon entering, a cruel contrast to the lush gardens he'd left behind. Doctors and nurses moved with a quiet efficiency that felt ominous, their hushed voices adding to the suffocating weight in the air. He saw Dixie, pale and trembling, her eyes wide with unshed tears, clutching a crumpled handkerchief. His boys, usually so boisterous, were subdued, their faces etched with a fear too profound for their young years. The air was thick with unspoken questions, with a palpable sense of something irrevocably broken, a silence more deafening than any scream. Hours bled into an eternity in the waiting room, each tick of the clock a hammer blow against his sanity. Bing, the man who commanded millions with a smile, felt utterly powerless, stripped bare of his carefully constructed facade. He paced, he sat, he stood, his mind a frantic kaleidoscope of what-ifs and if-onlys. Every shadow seemed to hold a premonition, every distant siren a harbinger of doom. He replayed the last interaction with his son, the casual wave, the hurried promise to talk later, a promise now hanging heavy, possibly unfulfilled. The weight of his own relentless ambition, the demands of his career that often pulled him away, pressed down on him with crushing force, guilt a bitter taste on his tongue. Finally, a doctor approached, his face grim, his words measured, but each one a shattering blow. "Mr. Crosby," he began, his voice low, "we've done everything we could, but Gary's condition is far more serious than we initially believed." The world spun. It wasn't just an accident, it was a revelation of a deeper, insidious struggle Gary had been battling in silence, a darkness that had festered beneath the surface of their seemingly idyllic life. The diagnosis, whispered with a clinical detachment, spoke of a profound vulnerability, a deep-seated issue that had been exacerbated, perhaps even triggered, by the very pressures of their public existence. A secret pain, meticulously hidden, now violently exposed. The words hung in the air, a death knell not just for Gary's immediate well-being, but for Bing's carefully curated reality. This wasn't a broken bone, it was a broken spirit, a fragile mind teetering on the precipice, a truth he had been too blind, too busy, or perhaps too unwilling to confront. The news wasn't just about his son, it was a brutal indictment of the family's underlying fragility, of the cracks that had been papered over with fame and fortune. The immediate consequence was an overwhelming sense of responsibility, a crushing guilt that threatened to consume him. His world, once a beacon of success, was now irrevocably stained, its golden sheen stripped away to reveal a raw, agonizing wound that would never truly heal, forever altering the trajectory of their lives and the perception of his legacy. The reverberations of that devastating truth tore through Bing Crosby's meticulously constructed world, leaving a chasm where once stood an impenetrable facade. The immediate aftermath was a desolate landscape of shock, a silent scream echoing in his private life. He retreated, not just from the public eye, but from the very essence of human connection, his celebrated voice now a whisper of self-recrimination. The initial wave of grief was a physical weight, pressing down, suffocating the last vestiges of the carefree entertainer. It wasn't just a secret unveiled. It was a soul laid bare, exposed to harsh judgment both external and, far more cruelly, internal. He became a prisoner of his own making, haunted by the echoes of what could never be undone. This seismic shift irrevocably fractured the delicate threads of his remaining relationships. His children, already navigating a complex paternal dynamic, now faced a father burdened by an unbearable weight, their interactions strained by unspoken accusations and palpable awkwardness. Friends and colleagues, once drawn to his magnetic charisma, found themselves at arm's length, unsure how to bridge the gap between the legend and the broken man. Professionally, while his star power never entirely dimmed, a subtle shadow clung to his performances, a melancholic undertone audiences perhaps unknowingly perceived. He buried himself in work, seeking solace in its structured demands, but the joy, the effortless spontaneity, seemed replaced by a grim, distracting determination. Deep within, the gnawing guilt became a constant companion, a relentless prosecutor in the court of his conscience. Every past decision, interaction, and silence was replayed, dissected, and condemned. The profound grief he carried wasn't merely for the lives impacted, but for the idealized version of himself, the benevolent patriarch, the infallible icon, now shattered beyond repair. He mourned the loss of innocence, the erosion of trust, and the painful realization that his pursuit of an unattainable image had come at an unimaginable human cost. His public persona, once a shield, now felt like an iron mask, suffocating him, preventing any genuine reconciliation with his fractured identity. The story of Bing Crosby, therefore, stands as a stark testament to the profound fragility of human connection when confronted by hidden truths and the crushing burden of a public image. His relentless pursuit of external perfection, driven by era's expectations and deep-seated insecurities, ultimately created a chasm between his public persona and the complex, flawed man beneath. This chasm, once exposed, highlighted the immense cost of maintaining a facade, revealing how even celebrated figures are susceptible to the destructive power of unaddressed pain and corrosive silence. It forced a reevaluation of the ideals we project onto our heroes, reminding us that behind every flawless veneer lies a deeply human, often struggling, individual. What then does Bing Crosby's story teach us about the price of perfection? It is a poignant lesson in the destructive futility of maintaining an unblemished facade at the expense of genuine connection and self-acceptance. It underscores the vital importance of confronting our shadows, rather than allowing them to fester and erupt in devastating ways. His legacy, though forever shadowed, serves as a powerful, if tragic, reminder that true fulfillment lies not in the applause of the masses, but in the authentic, often messy truth of our human experience. It's a call to embrace vulnerability, to seek understanding, and to remember that even the brightest stars can harbor the deepest darkness. For more untold stories of Hollywood's golden age and the complex lives behind the silver screen, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell.